Kia ora. Welcome, Gemma. I am so excited to have you here. Thank you so much. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing so good. I'm so excited for this conversation and I just can't wait to get into it. I'm like fizzing with excitement.
Yes. Oh, shall we give our little intro into your world, what it is that you do, and what really brought you into this field of work as well?
Yeah, okay. Kia ora, everybody. My name's Gemma. I'm in Kirikiriroa, Hamilton, and I'm a mother to a 5-year-old boy. And I'm a fully certified breathwork facilitator and trauma recovery coach. I love working with creative people. They're like my favorite people to work with. Highly sensitive types, neurodivergent types who know that they have a gift to share with the world. And I just love being able to bring some of that somatic work with some of the mindset work, but through a trauma-informed lens to support them to get paid to do what they love, to finally launch their fucking projects that are sitting away half done. Um, and I came to this work myself. I've been in startups for about 15 years. And before I retrained in the healing arts, was a CEO and a founder and sat on a number of boards locally and nationally in the wellbeing, philanthropy, and community development space. And I just got to this point where I realized in terms of systems change and like meaningful change in communities, where I felt my heart wanting to go more in was that inner work piece and the internal system that's actually driving you to make a decision or driving you to perceive something a certain way or impacting your stress, which is then impacting your ability to lead. And so I became really, really curious about internal systems and how we lead ourselves and self-leadership and how that interacts in terms of community and change in that way. And it also happened, all this healing work in a deeper way came to a point where I had kind of me personally ignored my intuition for a really long time. I'd always felt it. There was like this soft voice. I'd always felt it, but I was like, that's crazy or a bit weird. I've got a first class honors in business strategy and management. I've used my head most of my life, but it came to a point where lots of little internal whispers had turned into a really loud kind of inner knowing, and I couldn't deny it. And I ended up taking a leap of faith and leaving a marriage, which I didn't know at the time was unhealthy. But looking back, realized that soft and gentle whisper was really there to support me and love me. And becoming a solo mum to a 1-year-old at the same time as leaving a really successful career and retraining in the healing arts, all these whispers were like calling me to make such significant life changes. And so I found the deeper inner work when I was like, how do I actually believe that voice is going to take me to something better than my current reality? How do I trust that when it's asking for such big change? And so, yeah, it's been a really beautiful personal journey for me around intuitive development, coming into my body and being able to combine strategy and startup and all that world with deeper somatic work. And I love it.
Thank you so much for sharing. And yes, I just absolutely adore you, Gemma, and everything that you stand for. You're just an absolute gem in the world. I do, for those listening, Gemma's got a library online where it's like body doubling, and she provides EFT tapping and breath work, meditation, all these ways to really start trusting the inner whisper and the intuition and getting back into your body. So like even in like the smallest ways make the most ginormous impact. And yeah, I just
Yeah.
absolutely love tuning in, whether it's live or on
Yay.
the replay. I'm like, yes, just get my like 10-20 minutes in and yeah, get
Yes.
grounded.
That's all we need. Yeah. It's so good. I love that you're in there.
So good. And you mentioned quite a bit about the internal systems, and I know that you're deep into the internal family systems. And this is not a topic that I've actually brought to the podcast before, and I'm like, perfect
Oh,
person,
cool.
yay, to bring it.
Yeah.
Could you explain a
Yeah.
little bit how it helps with self-awareness and the healing journey and all the things that goes wrapped up in amongst the IFS?
Yes, IFS, I love so much. It's a big part of the coaching tools that I use with my work with clients. And basically, IFS is this beautiful model that says there are no bad parts. You have no bad parts. Instead, you have had really natural and normal responses to abnormal circumstances. So, when you've been in environments that have triggered that stress response for a prolonged period of time, you'll have these parts that will adapt and protect you and help manage your emotions so that it can keep you safe. And so, what I love about IFS is that it is a non-pathologizing model to support your mental health and well-being. So we're not trying to diagnose anything, we're not trying to label or categorize anything. Instead, we're trying to understand, okay, what is that part's role for you in your internal system? And how is that interacting with other parts that you have in your system? And impacting and influencing how you're showing up in the world. So, for example, when I first started parts work, I had this part of me that really wanted to write and express, and I would just keep all these drafts saved on my Instagram and never post them. I didn't use my name on Instagram when I set up my business account. I was the CEO of this charity. It was quite public, and I didn't want those two parts to be seen together. And so when I started my parts work, I really got to explore in that particular instant, that part of me that was really scared of being seen. And so it was protecting me by hiding and playing small and keeping it safe and, dimming the light, and started to really uncover, the deeper fear that that part was protecting. And by developing a relationship with that part, I got to learn how to kind of come out of the creative closet and express myself more fully and embrace that I am a multifaceted, multidimensional, multi-part person who can be a CEO, but also a poet and a mother, but also a dancer. And we can just have all these parts of us living together. And IFS is this really beautiful way to learn more about yourself. You're not just your job title. You're not just a mother. You're not just a wife or a partner. You are a multidimensional being. And IFS gives you kind of these mechanisms and ways to connect with yourself more fully and to love yourself in a more harmonious way, I want to say. And I think the thing that's so beautiful about it is that it has this kind of innate belief within it that you carry these kind of self qualities. And they can be things like courage, persistence, playfulness, confidence. They're innate to you. That's what we call the self. And when you can learn to relate to those parts of you that are keeping you stuck or small or hidden or in fear, from self energy, you just become unstoppable, and it's really beautiful. So I love supporting people to access more of that self energy, to relate to their parts and feel like they can really lead themselves in the ways that they want to and break through the patterns that they're in.
I hadn't actually heard of IFS, or maybe I had, but not in the way where I was in a similar. We're in the same container for a mastermind. This is how Gemma and I initially connected. And when you started talking about it, I just went deep down the rabbit hole and oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And it's like with
Right?
shadow work, you actually start to see these parts of you in a different light, where you actually they were really trying to protect me. They're trying to keep me safe.
Yes.
I'm going to stop hating on
Yes.
them, stop trying to shove them down, and actually give
Yeah.
them space and what is it that they need to tell me in order to move through this. It's like the bear hunt. You can't go over it, can't
That's
go
it.
under it. You got to go through it.
It's so true. And it's such a loving way to treat yourself,
Mm.
and just like you would when you're raising children or connecting with young people, you would speak with them with that self energy, but often we don't connect that to how we would speak to ourselves. So it's a really beautiful way to kind of reparent yourself and raise younger parts of yourself to see that there is a sturdy leader and it's you. and you can kind of bring these different aspects of yourself together to feel more authentic. And that's really, really exciting. I love
Yeah.
that. I love authenticity.
It's so beautiful. And I know we kind of touched on before the body doubling and how you're a certified breathwork facilitator. And I know firsthand how powerful these tools really are, and
Mm,
again for neurodiverse individuals. So could you
mm.
explain how they work for somebody who's brand new to all of these terms, the terminology that we're just like
Yes.
casually throwing around, and how people can actually use that in
Yes.
their daily life as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, body doubling is something I came across when I was trying to figure out if I was neurodivergent or not, and gave it a go and was like, whoa, this is really quite exceptional. Body doubling is basically this thing where if you just have someone else in the room to do the thing that you'd like to do, you're more likely to do it just because they're there.
Yeah.
And so, I sometimes invite friends over so that I can fold my washing or clean my house. And I sometimes sit down with other entrepreneurs and work on parts of my business I procrastinate, like reconciling zero. And so, body doubling is this awesome tool where if you can find someone with a similar goal to sit down and do something that's important to your values, you're more likely to do it. And I think a big value for me is community as well. I think it's really beautiful to do lots of self-healing and work on your own, but it's also really important to be connected to others. And so body doubling helps me live that value of community. And breathwork is this beautiful tool. It is this free tool. We always have our breath. But breathwork works by taking conscious, connected control of your breath and following a particular breathing rhythm. And when you follow that rhythm, you can access a non-ordinary state of consciousness. You can reduce the stress response that is alive in your nervous system. You can widen your window of tolerance, which means you can be a bit more resilient, tolerate more uncertainty, more unknown, you're less reactive. And it can help you really strengthen your connection to your intuition because it's this beautiful tool to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is a felt sense of peace and presence in your body. And so when you can body double breath work, I think you've just found the sweet spot for supporting your mental well-being and spiritual health, which is why I created the library. So, you can do short breathwork practices we do in the library, like, 10 minutes, or you can do longer therapeutic journeys with breathwork, which help release suppressed trauma, suppressed emotions, sensations. I do a lot of IFS work in my breathwork workshops with clients. So we're accessing that non-ordinary state and processing parts that are stuck or frozen in the system. And yeah, it really is up to you when you want to choose to go into breath work. I feel like you can't force it or push it or hurry it along. It's just kind of when you're ready. But for me, as a neurospicy girly, by far, I've been in healing work for about 13, 14 years now. Psychologist, psychiatrist, counseling, everything, leadership tools, immersive experiences, everything. I've tried so many things, and by far breathwork and IFS are the most efficient and effective at supporting me through distress, but also reducing the amount of distress I have overall, which has been really amazing. So I love being able to support other people with that now.
Yeah, that sounds so powerful. I need to make a way to come to one of your community workshops and do the IFS
Oh,
with the breathwork that combined, like just wow.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really healing. Yeah.
Many people say that they find it really hard to meditate or just to like quieten the mind, or don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily have time or perhaps even the knowledge of what EFT tapping is. So, what are some
Mm-hmm.
really simple, practical ways that people could start with those kind of practices as well?
Yes. Oh my gosh, this was me. I
Mm.
was like, I can't do this fucking meditation thing. I've got such a busy mind
Mm.
and a busy body. Like, what do you mean sit and meditate? At that point in my healing journey, I just thought this is rubbish, and so using more somatic practices like tapping, like breath work, like dance, like yin yoga, or different types of intensity movements and exercise are going to be way more effective for you at that particular point in your healing journey. So I think the thing I love most about tapping is that it's really just an exercise to sit there and connect with the different meridian points in your body. So we have tapping on the back of the hand, top of the head, on the face, across the clavicle, under the armpits, and on the wrists. And all we're doing is giving a voice to some of those thoughts that we're ruminating in, or that we've kind of gone down a spiral in, or maybe there's just no one to really hear us or see us or witness us as we're going through something. And so tapping is this really beautiful way to just kind of self-validate and say, even though I'm fucking tired, I was up all night working on that thing, things are really tough in my family right now, this bill just came out of nowhere and it's stressing me out, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And the more honest you can be with yourself as you move through the different tapping points, the more you'll find yourself kind of stopping intellectualizing your experience, thinking more about it. You don't need to think more about it to process it. You actually need to connect with your body and feel it. And so tapping is a beautiful way for you to kind of drop from the intellectualizing into the felt experience of what's going on for you. And you might find yourself like just crying or sobbing or maybe screaming into a pillow or shaking your body. It's just you're finally able to release what is kind of stuck in the system. And it takes less than 10 minutes, So there's lots of amazing tapping queens on YouTube. I love Gala Darling. She got me into tapping. But you can follow a tapping sequence to, release stress and tension. And probably more so now for me personally and for my private clients or clients in Encounter, it's focused more around what you're actually calling in more of. And so it's about connecting the somatic experience of feeling safe with the things that you desire. And so it's like, even though I might be feeling a little anxious about launching a new program, I'm so safe to receive more. And I know that my gifts are ready to be shared with the world and it's safe for me to do so. And so it's kind of connecting that,
Writing this down mentally.
We'll do one in the library this
Yes.
week. Connecting it to the body, because if the body doesn't have a reference point for what you're calling in, and for that to feel safe, there'll be a part of you that will sabotage that. And so being able to support your system to mentally rehearse what it is that you truly desire and to know that it feels safe for that to happen and to speak life into that in a way that's really uplifting. It's just like, the greatest hack, to do. So
it's a no-brainer.
Many ways it can help. Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing that somatic for me was as well like the game changer on my healing journey, because I found that I was like looping around the same things and intellectualizing it, as you're saying, it's in the mind. But as soon as you start doing body practices, like I think maybe 4 years ago, my first kind of thing that I got into, probably even longer now, don't judge me on my timelines, I don't know. Somatic dance though, because I'm a dancer at heart, so that was just like so fluid to just go straight into that and start moving those emotions, those thoughts out with that. But then, as you say, doing it with EFT tapping, not only can you bring those limiting beliefs to the surface, but then speaking life and safety into what it is you're trying to call in. And if anyone is out there trying to manifest and it's not working, this is your next step. This is your sign to look up EFT tapping and to sign up to Gemma's library. Put in your requests. No.
Yes. I love it when people send in the requests. I got a few last week and I'm like, this is so good. But you're right. I mean, the thing that helped change the game for me when I understood, because I'd done so much mindset work, so much therapy, it was like, okay, the reality is once you're in a trigger, all of the work that you did consciously is now offline.
Mm.
So if you want to really change, you need to get to the emotional root of the trigger and understand what's driving that. And once you can, do some deeper work there, which is subconscious, it's not conscious, then you'll actually be able to break through that pattern. And I just love hearing how you've been able to do that with dance and so many of these other tools to support you in your journey as well. But it's such a shift for people, I think, especially in how we talk about mental health and well-being, being it, just go and have your 6 free counseling sessions or whatever it is, talk with a friend. Sometimes that's actually keeping you stuck because you can't talk your way into feeling safe in your body. It's a felt experience that happens through releasing the stress and tension that came at the time of the original stress or trauma. So yeah, it's such an important conversation, one I'm really passionate about.
And I think it's becoming more mainstream as opposed to just being in this little healing box over here for, the holistic wellness girlies. It's like,
Yeah.
actually, this is bridging out, and having these conversations is just so helpful for people that have been stuck in those loops, in those talk therapies, in those free counseling sessions, that you just be like, go back and can I have some more, please? Because I'm not quite done talking about the same thing. So we didn't actually fix it because it's still stuck in my body
Yes.
and causing me
Yes.
dis-ease.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So what else do I have for you here? When we are stressed or burnt out, self-care is often one of the first things to go. And I know you speak about when life amplifies, your self-care needs to amplify as well. So how can
Oh,
we,
yeah.
how can we shift our mindset to really prioritize that nervous system regulation?
Yeah, I think for me, I had to just experience burnout so many times, and for it
Mm,
to get chronic, for me to be like, I get what it's costing me to not care for myself. And I think seeing the impact that that had on my parenting and being like, I have like zero energy for my son, and these are his formative years. I'm shaping his nervous system. I'm shaping the way he speaks to himself. I'm shaping his reference point of what's normal in life. Um, I don't, I'm done, I'm
mm.
done not caring for myself. And so I think I'm motivated by pain. And
Yeah.
so, we're either motivated by pain
Mm,
or we're motivated towards pleasure. So I think being able to get what it's costing you to be where you are and like really journal on that and to write
mm,
it out and being like, yeah, my family gets my worst bits, or like my creative projects are not going anywhere, even though those are the things that are going to be deeply satisfying and fulfilling for me in my life. And it's like, okay, I'm actually just bored with not caring for myself. When I'm well, I'm radiant and I give my best to the things around me that I care about. I'm way more specific about where I put my time and energy, and I can be stronger in my boundaries. And so, being able to have that is like a superpower.
mm,
And I think, yeah, sometimes we think if I just do one more thing, or I just get on top of that next thing, or I just get in front of that thing, then I will be able to care for myself. But those things are never ending.
mm.
And so it has to be a non-negotiable. It has to be something for me. I now schedule in my hair, nails, eyebrows, massages. I go and do a sauna and an ice bath. I get a yin yoga class twice a week, breathwork time, go for hikes, all the shit. And I just used to think those people were so self-indulgent and disconnected from reality. And my shadow work was on selfishness, obviously, and being able to just lean into that and realize, well, when I'm well, I can give my best. And I think that old paradigm of leadership and motherhood is martyrdom,
Mm.
like the wounded healer, or the mother that just gives everything to her kids. And I just thought, that is an old paradigm that I don't want to live from. And it's outdated and it doesn't nourish well-being. And so I'm unsubscribing. So I guess, yeah, I think it's just getting getting connected to what it's costing you, I think, can be a catalyst for change.
Mm-hmm. And shifting from it being selfish to it's selfless. It's self-care is the foundation of everybody else's reflection of
Totally.
your nervous system and how you're speaking to, these are the formative years. Whether you're an early childhood teacher or you're a parent, you're having the same effect. Your energy is driving the room of those children. And when you can
Yeah.
really care to that in a way where you're like, okay, this is non-negotiable. Same as you, I
Yeah.
literally started like scheduling things in. I'm like, I know that I've got a retreat coming up because I've booked it in. I know that I've got a facial or a massage. And I used to feel guilty, like especially early on in motherhood, because I'm like, oh, but I'm everything for this baby, this new little baby, that this is now my life. And I learned very
Mm,
quickly after being in a state of burnout at the end of my career. And then it was creeping in when I was just entered into motherhood. I was like, oh, no, 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 we don't do this. And so it did.
yeah.
It took me quite a while to get back into that shift of mindset that actually self-care is the biggest form of love and unconditional love, not only for yourself, but for those around you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. And I feel, the kids, there's like, you can say that you're feeling calm and centered and whatever, but it's so like felt in the environment, and it's subtle, and so I think for me, once I had my son, just seeing how much regulation he needed made me realize just how dysregulated I was,
Mm,
and then helped me kind of be like, all right, well, what do I need to feel safe? What do I need to feel grounded? Because I've got this little dude that needs to borrow my nervous system because he doesn't have the capacity yet. I've got this little dude who's learning how to speak to himself through how I speak to him.
mm,
Oh, I've got to give myself what I need so I can do that, because at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. Not my work, not my,
mm,
not my friendship. I mean, they're all beautiful parts of life, but I've got this responsibility here with my boy. And I, at the end of the day, just want to feel like, hand on heart, I did what I could to support him to be well,
mm,
It's like living this work is to support our kids to be well. So, yeah, I think it's such an important conversation on the nervous system and
mm,
us as women learning to care and love for ourselves and know that that is money well spent.
mm,
Like, I used to have the belief that it was a waste of money. And it took me a while to feel comfortable spending money like this, but I realized there was places my money was going that wasn't actually aligned with my values anyways. So it's just redirecting it.
yeah. And that's why self-care is literally one of our core pillars within conscious early learning. And because it's like, in order to have self-care, to have self-regulation, you need self-care. In order to have the co-regulation,
Mm,
you need to be regulated, because it's like the foundation. It's the key in parenting and
yes.
teaching. So what are some of
Mm.
the best ways to support children's emotional regulation while managing our own? So really, like, if this is the first time you've come across the Conscious Early Learning podcast, should we just spin a little bit of background on what co-regulation is for those first time listeners?
Yeah, beautiful. I feel, oh, this is such a juicy conversation. I
Mm,
think when there is stress, we're going to get triggered into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn.
mm,
And if we're not aware of that, we will either be in an aggressive outburst trying to control things, we'll be fleeing and running away, just being busy, doing anything but
mm,
connecting with our child. We might be disassociated, just binging social media, watching movies, just children doing whatever while we're doing that.
mm,
And or we might be in that martyr mode as mother, just constantly um, attending to every tiny thing, trying to please our children, trying to please other people in the home, at the expense of our own self. And so those are our four stress responses. And so when we talk about self-regulation, what we're referring to is the ability to notice that stress response and to give ourselves what we need in that moment. And it might be that you go and grab a pillow and have a scream.
mm,
It might be you go outside and stomp your legs and run on the spot. It might be that you go and have a cold shower or put your favorite song on and dance and wake your energy up. Or maybe it's you reaffirm your sense of self and remind yourself of your values and what you're available for and what you're not available for at home. And being able to do that at the start is fucking hard because it's all just like chaos and stress. But over time, through a really short, small, consistent practice, I'm talking 5 minutes. You only need 5 minutes a day of doing some breath work and just centering yourself and learning how to self-reflect and come off that autopilot stress response means you're going to have the internal capacity to notice where you are, give yourself what you need, and then therefore notice where your child is and give them what they need, attuning to their world, mirroring their experience, being with them through their emotion without fixing, saving, rescuing, changing, but helping them validate that, and then holding the boundary, whatever it is, if it is a boundary that needs to be held, or maybe it's just, them borrowing your nervous system while they go through it. It's just a difficult morning or whatever. And so I think that is one of the most kind things that we could do for ourselves and for our kids. And yeah, that's my take. I'd love to hear your take on it, though.
Yeah, well,
You know this work inside out.
you really did just like paint the most beautiful picture in a nutshell for co-regulation. For me, it's having those foundations of the self-care, the self-regulation tools, whether it's something like you've got a mantra on tap, and perhaps you're anchoring it in with something physical. So it could be that you just clasp your hands and you feel like you're holding your own hand, and you're like, this just automatically signals safety to your body. And you might just say, I am safe. This is just a moment in time. You might say it out loud if you need to, because, sound, frequency, vibration, creation,
Yes.
speak it into existence.
Yes.
Or it might be inappropriate with your child screaming on the floor, and you might just want to say it in your head. It could be just pause and breathe. So when you're in those heightened emotions when your child is, or the child in your care, if you're early childhood teacher, just pausing and taking a deep breath. And by doing that, you're modeling that to the child that's having the hard time. But not only that, you're starting to rewire your brain. So initially, you might have been triggered into like barking back, or not coming from a place of empathy, and really just getting swirled up in their storm of emotions. Again, that's another cool one. Like you can physically, not physically, but hey, what dimension are we in? You can imagine a storm and seeing this emotion as a storm in front of you, and you might say, I am not the storm, I am safe. And then you can see this storm just kind of dissolving, and that way you're becoming the observer of the situation. You're not getting swept up in it. So, oh my gosh, yeah, I could just talk about this for hours, but I think you really nailed it with the basis of holding your own grounding, calm, like having those practices first thing in the morning where you do just imagine your tree roots going down into Mother Earth and feeling held by her and feeling grounded, putting your bare feet on the grass outside.
Yes.
And just earthing yourself,
Something.
connecting and setting the intention for the day. Like, I am calm no matter what comes my way. Like, I can face any challenge with ease and flow. Or it's safe to feel emotions, even if you are getting swept up in their storm. Having that self-compassion is a huge part of it. And hey, if you do just like, oh, for fuck's sake, look, sorry, I'm obviously professionalism, you probably wouldn't do that at work. But if you do that at home with your child, or if it does kind of like slip out when you're like totally overwhelmed and burnt out, you can repair.
Yeah.
You can say, look, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm struggling to deal with what emotions I'm feeling at the moment. So I think I might need to just take some deep breaths, or actually, hang on a minute, I'm going to go and splash some water on my face. And like my son, if I do like have like a little blip, he's like, Mummy, maybe you just need to punch a pillow, or Mummy, what could we do better this time? So he's reflecting back to me like the words that I speak to him, and I freaking love it. I'm like, fuck, you're just
That's
like
so
a reflection
beautiful.
of this work working, and knowing that we don't have to be
Yes.
perfect. I think that is one of the other things to
Yeah.
bring back home. Like, yes, we can do all this stuff, and I can be sitting here hosting a podcast on conscious early learning, and I can also have a blip and still be okay with my life,
Yes.
that it's not going to crumble down because I've just ruined this child, you know? Like, having
Yes.
that repair.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am so glad you talk about repair. I
Mm.
think that's such a powerful place too, to teach kids what
Mm.
healthy relationships look like, that there is going to be moments where you aren't embodying compassion or connection or playfulness or whatever it
Yeah,
is, because life be lifing. And to be able to model that repair, I think is just so beautiful, to teach them what that looks like too.
it is. Oh, and also during those moments where perhaps you are getting swept up in the emotions of the child, that could be actually where your inner child is taking the wheel. So, what does reconnecting with our inner child actually look like, and how does shadow work kind of tie into that journey?
Oh, this is such, I feel like you could do an entire
I know.
podcast on this one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, and I think this is, my personal passion and curiosity with internal family systems is often when you're triggered by your child, it's usually a reflection. It can be a reflection that perhaps when you were that age, and you did that thing, you didn't quite get the attunement or connection or support that you needed in that moment. And so it can feel really overwhelming. And I know for me, sometimes I'm just thinking like, just do it yourself. My boy needs a lot of body doubling,
Yeah.
whereas I did a lot alone. And I just feel like it's in those moments that I'm like, oh, okay, my inner child actually needs a body double for some
Mm.
things that maybe I had been just trying to push her or force her into just getting on with it and just hurrying up, and just, that's the voice
Yeah.
of that part of me, and so really understanding that children are mirrors, and they're going to reflect back parts of ourselves that we might not necessarily see. And it's only in that relationship with them that we can see it more clearly. But
Mm.
certainly when I'm getting really triggered or overwhelmed, I'm paying a bit more attention and asking myself, okay, do I have an unmet need here? Or how old is that part of me that didn't get what she needed? And what could I go and give her tonight once my son's in bed, or this weekend when I've got my self-care? And sometimes she'll speak through pictures. Sometimes she'll speak through a voice. Sometimes she'll speak through different synchronicities and just like things I'll notice in the environment a bit more. But whatever it is, it's just about this kind of practice of paying attention and listening and understanding that, yeah, there might be a suppressed part of you haven't yet explored that's actually just asking for your attention. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's where all the reparenting comes into it as well. And just
Yeah.
giving that little part of you, that inner child, the compassion, or, yeah, like you said, asking, what is it that they need to hear in that moment? Did they actually just need a hug? And you can go into a
Yeah.
meditation or something like that to
Mm.
meet this little part of you, and, yeah,
Mm.
just communicate with them. They might not want to in the beginning. They might not even trust you. So
Yes.
don't feel disappointed, but it's like with any relationship and any child, like you got to give it that time and attention in order to,
That's
yeah,
it.
actually get to the root of the problem, or whatever it was at the time that caused that trigger. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's where, I mean, this is one aspect of healing, but what would you say to someone who wants to heal but feels really stuck and resistant to actually starting this inner work? Like, where, I feel like inner child work is a little bit down the track, but not necessarily. It's whatever you're called to, obviously, that you're gonna
Yeah.
seek out first, or whatever your soul is gonna show the path for you. But yeah, where would you
Mm.
suggest just starting for the inner work?
Yeah, I think it's great just with a journal. I think it's such a low risk place to begin, where you might just ask yourself each morning, how am I feeling today? And just write freely. Or what's something that's been bothering me? Or where do I feel stuck? Why do I feel stuck? Just that self inquiry, I think, pen to paper, is such a beautiful way to get started. And then I also feel with healing work, you will be given different guides or mentors at different points in that process. And so if you feel a deep connection or resonance, if you feel really seen or heard by someone that you're like, okay, actually, I think I could lean into this, even though I'm feeling really scared, at the same time as feeling a bit of excitement, like I think this is my next step, to lean in and actually take a leap of faith and trust that the universe has got your back. And I think, the healing world and work is unregulated at times, and I think it's important if you're getting started in the healing work to ask for someone's qualifications, ask for their certification, find some testimonials of other people that have worked with them, really find out what specifically they're going to be able to support you with, find out about a complaints process. Do they have a peak body that they are required to do ongoing education, training, and learning to maintain their certifications? I mean, I've got a lot of intellectual parts. And so for me, when I first started, I did a lot of research into different coaches and guides and mentors, and eventually, was able to support, that more soft and gentle whisper that was like, this person, just book it, just pay for it, just go. And now I can do that with less intellectual work, but still, I think when you're getting started, it can be a really great way to reduce some of that stress of like, can I really trust this? Well, do some due diligence and see what you can find and see how it sits with you, as well as getting started with some journaling, I think is really great. And see, also, like, there's lots of free videos on YouTube. I think I remember starting with like 5 rhythms dance and watching people like guide 5 rhythms on YouTube. And Gala Darling does tapping videos. Awaken Breathwork had a breathwork video. There were a bunch of really awesome somatic leaders, teachers, that I think just through starting that in the comfort of my own home helped me build some resilience, some safety, and confidence to lean in a little further and invest in a program. It's the magic.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good, important thing to bring to light, especially if you are seeking help because of something that's possibly trauma related. So that's when you do want to
Yeah.
make sure that somebody is qualified and either trauma informed, trauma responsive, even better,
Yeah.
that knows what to do if you are triggered and in a situation where like things that you've been, squashing down for many, 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 many years, if they come to the
Yeah.
surface, are you going to feel safe to be able to work through that? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next question. Would you be open to guiding us through just a really brief practice that our listeners can actually start
Yes.
with today, and that they can, this is something they can timestamp and come back to?
Yes, absolutely. Should we do a tapping or a breath work, or what feels good?
um, I mean, I might be biased, but I think tapping is really amazing. But then,
Yeah,
but also breathwork's really
let's
good
do it.
too. Yeah, should we just do tapping? Because this is
We
probably
could do a mix of
should we just do
both.
both? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's.
Yes. Perfect. Good.
Why did we think we had to choose?
We make the rules.
We could do. Yeah, well, I just remembered that. I was like, oh, hang on, we're in
Yeah.
charge. We could do both. We could do. Let's go for 15 restorative breaths. So we're going to breathe in through the nose, draw the breath down to the diaphragm, and you're going to exhale through the mouth. And there's no pause in between the breaths, so it's a continuous flow of breath. And so we'll do 15 of those, and then we'll go into a tapping sequence. So I'm going to invite you to settle in where you are. It's not safe to do this while you're driving, so just
Hit pause.
know it's while driving. So pull the car over, and just a quick disclaimer, it may be that you start to feel a little bit lightheaded or dizzy, a little tingly. Maybe you'll feel vibrations in your body. You might even feel an emotion come to the surface. I just want you to know that that is all natural and normal. Nothing has gone wrong. You're just restoring the body-mind system connection and creating space for yourself, which is a beautiful gift. So if it feels right, stay with us. And I'm going to invite you to close down your eyes. You can just settle into the space that you're in, beginning to sense and feel your feet firmly on the ground, and see if you can bring your awareness up through your legs, just noticing sensation to connect with your sitting bones. Just noticing how it feels at the bottom of your spine. Bringing your awareness up through your stomach, your back, down through your shoulders, your arms, all the way to the tips of your fingers. Just taking a moment to stretch your body, maybe just making an adjustment so that you can feel 5% more comfortable. Coming up to the head, sensing and feeling the head, and coming into connection with your breath, just noticing how your breath is organizing right now. I'm going to count us down. We're going to take those 15 breaths together, in through the nose and out through the mouth in 3, 2, 1. That's it. You're going to stay with this rhythm. In for a count of 2, out for a count of 2. Drawing the breath down to the diaphragm, letting those inhales be deep and full. And charging up your inhale, softening and letting go on the exhale. That's it. You've got this. We're going to do 5 more breaths here, just staying with it, noticing that 2 things can be true. You can breathe and you can notice sensation or resistance. 2 more. Final deep breath in and all the way out. You're just going to hold here, asking yourself the question, what does my intuition want me to know right now? Whenever it feels good for you, you can let your breath return to its own natural rhythm. And as you do, you can just take a moment to notice how your mind feels, how your body feels, how your heart feels, and just giving yourself the biggest permission slip to be here in this moment in your body, with your inner guidance, with your intuition. And when you feel ready, you can wriggle your fingers, wriggle your toes. Slowly blink your eyes open. She's back. She's radiant. She's glowing. She's connected. She's elevated. And we're going to do a little tapping. So with our tapping sequence, we always start on the back of the hand. And I love to use a setup statement that goes, even though, and then you just spill the tea. So even though I'm going to do my morning, even though my morning was a bit chaotic and I was late to drop my son off at school, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So you can follow along with us on these different points and tap, and you can repeat after me, or you can say your own thing. You can spill the tea on your own morning and just be honest. The more honest you are, the more capacity you have for releasing stress and tension. So we'll go to the top of the crown. Even though sometimes I feel a little guilty for being late to school drop-off, and I want to do better at time management in the morning, but sometimes I just don't get it right. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Inside eyebrow. And that then meant I was late for the gym, and there was a ripple on and I felt rushed in the car. I did notice there was a moment I had to just take a pause, take a breath, and recenter. And I felt really proud of myself for that. And I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Outside eyebrow. And even though There are a few things just not really going to plan, and I feel like I'm a little out of control right now. And no matter how much effort I put in, I can't seem to reduce the load. And I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Upper lip. And even though I'm noticing as I'm tapping, energy's starting to shift. And those things that were feeling like quite a big deal are starting to shrink. I deeply and completely love and accept myself on the jaw. And even though sometimes I feel like I'm flying when it comes to my parenting, I feel like I'm nailing it. I feel like I'm super connected to my values and I'm doing well with my healing journey. There are other moments where I just feel like, when is this going to end? And it's really testing me this week and it's challenging me, and I deeply and completely love and accept myself on the clavicle. And even though there are some moments where I tend to focus on what's not working well, I'm starting to see in this moment that there are lots of things that are working well. And I'm starting to see that I want to celebrate my relationship with my children today, because it's one that I've really intentionally created, and I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Under the armpits, just tapping under there. Even though sometimes I bottle up everything inside and I keep it to myself, I don't want to bother anyone, I'm starting to see that when I say how I'm feeling out loud, it's like a weight has shifted and there's not so much bubbling away. And I deeply and completely love and accept myself on the wrists. And even though sometimes I don't know how I'm feeling, I don't know what it is I should say or shouldn't say, or what to feel or how to feel. In this moment, I just want to celebrate myself for showing up and trying and learning by doing. And there's lots of things I can do now that I couldn't do 5 years ago. And I'm going to take a moment to just acknowledge that. I'm less reactive. I'm more present. And I feel happier. And I deeply and completely love and accept myself. You're going to open your palms, place them on top of your thighs. Just take 3 deep breaths. Just taking a moment here to notice how you feel. And I want to celebrate you for making space for yourself, for holding space for yourself, and for meeting yourself where you're at. That's all this work is, just meeting yourself where you're at and choosing to connect with yourself. And that's really beautiful. So thank you so much for letting me guide you. And I hope that you feel a deeper connection with your intuition, that soft and gentle voice, and that you might trust that today, whatever it said.
That was beautiful and absolutely perfect. Thank you so much, Gemma, for sharing. And thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been amazing. And what a way to finish it up with a beautiful practice.
Thank you.
Is there any last words that you wanted to say and just share with our listeners where they can find you? I'll put it all in the show notes as I do, but yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's when you asked me to come on, I was like, oh my gosh, that's going to be so fun. So thank you for having me. And I think, yeah, being able to see you inside the mastermind that we've been in together and to witness your work, I'm just deeply inspired by the woman that you are and the leadership that you're offering in the space that you do. You're so embodied in it. And yeah, I love learning through you as well. So thank you for your leadership. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, _Gemma_Rose. And if there was something that we shared today that supported you in some way, I would love to hear from you. So drop me a DM. And my website is gemmarose.nz. I run a bunch of different coaching programs, breathwork workshops, Bali retreats, all kinds of things to support you in your healing journey. So take a look, and if it resonates, send a message. I'd love to connect.
Yes, please do connect with Gemma. She is amazing. And yeah, if any of her offerings call out to you, then you are in such safe hands, and she will literally change your world. You are in for a transformation. Just, yeah, same thing being in the mastermind with you. I feel like I've just learned so much from you, and yeah, you're just, yeah, amazing. I can't sing your praises enough.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's really beautiful to receive.
Thank you, Gemma. I'll let you go on now to do your library recording.
Yes,
I won't hold you up.
it's been one of those mornings.
Yeah. Thank you so
Okay, have a
much.
beautiful
See
day.
you. Bye.
Bye.